The night wind howled across the empty highway like it was carrying a warning nobody understood yet. I remember gripping the steering wheel tighter, thinking something strange was about to happen. Out here in the quiet desert roads, nothing good ever happens after sunset. But that night, something happened that changed my life completely and forever. I noticed a lonely bus stop standing under a flickering yellow streetlight. A single figure sat there, shoulders slumped, looking like the world had collapsed around them. At first I thought it was just another traveler stranded between towns. But as my truck headlights passed across his face, my heart nearly stopped. Because the man sitting there wasn't a stranger, and he definitely wasn't supposed to be there. It was my boss, the richest and most powerful man in the entire county. Now let me tell you something about my boss so you understand why this moment felt impossible. This man owned half the land surrounding our dusty little Wild West town. He traveled in expensive cars, wore tailored suits, and rarely spoke to workers directly. I was just a ranch hand trying to raise my young daughter alone. Our worlds were so far apart they might as well exist in different countries. Yet there he was sitting on that wooden bench like a man forgotten by time. His coat looked wrinkled, and his eyes carried a heavy exhaustion I had never seen before. I slowed my truck and pulled over without even thinking about it twice. Something about the situation felt wrong, like a puzzle missing its most important piece. I rolled down the window and called his name across the quiet road. When he looked up at me, the expression on his face made my stomach twist. You ever see someone powerful suddenly look completely broken and helpless before your eyes? That was exactly what I saw when he recognized me standing beside my dusty pickup truck. His voice was quieter than I had ever heard during any meeting or workplace conversation. He asked if I could give him a ride into town without asking questions. That alone shocked me because this man normally commanded people instead of requesting favors. I nodded quickly and opened the passenger door while glancing around the empty highway nervously. He climbed inside slowly like someone carrying invisible weight pressing down on his shoulders. As I pulled away from the lonely bus stop, the silence inside the truck grew uncomfortable. The only sound was the gravel crunching beneath the tires and the wind rattling the windows. Finally, curiosity pushed me to ask what happened to his car or driver. The answer he gave next was something I never expected to hear. He stared straight ahead at the dark road stretching endlessly before us. Then he quietly told me his family had abandoned him earlier that evening. At first I thought maybe I misunderstood the words coming out of his mouth. But he explained that his own business partners and relatives turned against him suddenly. They had arranged meetings, taken control of accounts, and forced him out overnight. The driver who normally followed his orders had been told not to pick him up anymore. Even the security guards at his own office refused to open the gates. Within a few hours the man who ruled half the county had nowhere left to go. He laughed bitterly while explaining how quickly loyalty disappears when money changes direction. Listening to him speak felt like hearing a legend crumble into dust. I realized the powerful boss everyone feared was suddenly just another lonely man. And strangely enough, he was now sitting beside a struggling single father. We drove through the quiet desert roads while the town lights slowly appeared ahead. My mind kept spinning because none of this made any sense. Just yesterday I watched him give orders during a meeting like a king commanding soldiers. Now he looked like someone searching desperately for a safe place to sleep. I thought about my small house and my daughter waiting there after finishing homework. Life hadn't been easy since my wife passed away years earlier. But we always had a warm meal, laughter, and a place to rest peacefully. Compared to the powerful man beside me, my life suddenly seemed richer somehow. I hesitated for a moment before offering something unexpected from my heart. I told him he could stay at my house until he figured things out. The surprise on his face made it clear nobody had offered kindness recently. After a long pause, he quietly accepted the invitation with genuine gratitude. When we arrived at my small wooden house, the porch light was glowing softly. My daughter opened the door immediately because she always waited for my truck's familiar sound. She looked confused seeing a stranger step out of the passenger side beside me. I explained he was a friend who needed a place to rest tonight. Without hesitation, she smiled warmly and invited him inside like she always does. Watching that moment made something shift in the man's expression instantly. The cold sadness in his eyes slowly softened as she offered him a glass of water. Sometimes children remind adults what simple kindness actually looks like. He sat quietly at our small dinner table while my daughter chatted happily. For the first time that night, I saw him breathe like someone finally escaping danger. And that's when the real truth about everything slowly began revealing itself. Later that evening, after my daughter went to bed, he shared something shocking. The takeover of his company had been planned secretly for several months. People he trusted most had been waiting for the perfect opportunity to betray him. They used legal loopholes, forged agreements, and manipulated the board of directors carefully. By the time he realized what was happening, the entire empire was already slipping away. Lawyers were calling, accounts were frozen, and security had been reassigned instantly. That's how he ended up walking alone through town until reaching that forgotten bus stop. The powerful image everyone knew had collapsed within a single afternoon. Listening to his story made me realize how fragile success can actually be. One moment you're untouchable, and the next you're completely alone. And somehow fate placed him right in front of my truck headlights. The next morning, sunlight poured through the kitchen window like a fresh beginning. My daughter insisted we all eat breakfast together before anyone left the house. She treated him like an ordinary guest instead of a powerful businessman everyone feared. Something about that simple moment changed his mood dramatically. He started laughing softly while telling stories about his childhood growing up poor. Apparently he once lived in a small house very similar to mine long ago. Success had buried those memories under years of business meetings and endless work. Watching him reconnect with those forgotten parts of life was fascinating. The confident tone slowly returned to his voice while he spoke. But this time it felt different, less proud, and more thoughtful. That morning marked the first step of a completely unexpected friendship between us. Over the following weeks, strange things began happening around town. Rumors spread that the former boss was preparing a response to the betrayal. Lawyers started visiting my house quietly during late evening hours. Business documents covered my kitchen table like pieces of a complicated puzzle. Apparently the people who pushed him out had overlooked several critical details. Some contracts still belonged exclusively to him and could not be transferred legally. Slowly but surely he began rebuilding his position from the ground up. Watching his determination reminded me why he became successful originally. But this time he approached every decision differently than before. He asked my opinion frequently even though I was just a ranch worker. Somehow my ordinary perspective helped him see things his wealthy partners never noticed. Together we started shaping a surprising comeback story nobody expected. One afternoon we drove past the same lonely bus stop where everything began. The wooden bench still stood there under the flickering yellow streetlight. He asked me to stop the truck so we could sit there briefly. Looking around quietly, he admitted that moment changed his entire outlook on life. Losing everything forced him to see what truly matters beyond wealth or status. If my truck hadn't passed that night, he might have disappeared completely. That simple encounter reminded him humanity still exists in unexpected places. He promised himself never to forget the kindness my daughter and I showed him. Sometimes the lowest moment becomes the doorway toward something better. Standing there beside the empty road, I realized our lives had intertwined forever. And none of it would have happened without that strange night. Months later the truth exploded across the county like wildfire news. The legal battles ended with him regaining control of most of his company. Several partners who betrayed him were exposed for illegal financial manipulation. Authorities launched investigations that shocked many powerful figures in the region. But instead of celebrating revenge, he focused on rebuilding differently this time. Employees received fair treatment, better wages, and real appreciation for their work. The company culture transformed into something nobody expected from that ruthless empire. And believe it or not, he asked me to become one of his trusted advisors. Imagine a struggling single dad suddenly helping guide major business decisions. Life sometimes writes stories nobody would believe if they heard them casually. Yet every bit of it started beside that lonely bus stop. Despite regaining power and wealth, he never returned to his old lifestyle. Expensive cars still existed, but they no longer defined his identity completely. He visited my house regularly just to share dinner and conversation. My daughter even joked that he became our unofficial uncle over time. The powerful businessman who once ignored workers now valued genuine relationships deeply. Watching that transformation reminded me how experiences shape people permanently. Losing everything forced him to rediscover gratitude and humility. Sometimes success blinds people until reality forces them to see clearly again. Our unlikely friendship became a reminder that kindness travels in unexpected directions. And honestly, it changed my own perspective on life as well. Because sometimes helping someone costs nothing yet creates something priceless. Whenever we drive past that bus stop now, we both smile quietly. The place that once represented loneliness now symbolizes a turning point in two lives. A single moment of compassion connected two completely different worlds together forever. I was just a father trying to survive day by day. He was a powerful boss who thought money controlled everything around him. Fate decided to rewrite both stories during one dark desert night. And the truth we discovered was simple but powerful. Kindness often appears exactly when someone believes the world has forgotten them. That lesson stayed with both of us longer than any business victory. Every success afterward felt more meaningful because it came with humility. And all because someone stopped their truck beside a lonely bus stop. So if there's one thing I want you watching this story to remember tonight, it's this. Never underestimate how powerful a small act of kindness can become unexpectedly. You might help someone who seems ordinary but carries an extraordinary story waiting to unfold. Or maybe the person you help today becomes part of your future in ways unimaginable. Life writes the most unbelievable chapters when compassion leads the way forward. And who knows, the next person you help might change your life completely someday. If this story moved you even a little, let me know your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and share it with someone who believes kindness still matters. Because stories like this remind us the wild west of life still rewards brave hearts.